Yeah, MasterBoris is back with a new stream. Welcome to the channel, ladies and gentlemen. On the Twitch side of the game and on the YouTube side of the game. Welcome. We out here. It's up. Thank y'all for tuning in. I see y'all YouTube in the chat. What up, CG Flair? Everybody knows it's CG Flair. Getting in the zone is CG Flair. You already know it's CG Flair. Yeah, buddy. But we gonna get down to the nitty gritty, shall we? Because I said I was gonna do it, and we doing it. So I'm gonna read to y'all what has been said with regards to the VS Studio, that Harada, is within, joining the SNK ranks, you know what I'm saying, with this independent studio. We're just going to get right into it, So, he's on the move with SNK. The committee recommends that the state party takes all necessary measures to ensure, anyway. I ain't gonna read all that, but here it is. Katsuhiro Harada, you know what I'm saying? Founded a new company, VS Studios, SNK, with a backup from SNK and related groups, and that he was appointed the president of this studio. Additionally, he once supported the Tekken series alongside with Yuji Yonemori, and it was said that he will be joining the new studio. So yeah, he been working with Harada for a long time. He been with Namco Bandai since the first Soul Calibur game. And he worked on Tekken Tag 1. You know what I'm saying? That's where you got his start for real. But yeah, as many gamers know, Harada is leaving his long-serving Bandai Namco Studios at the end of 2025. Nearly 5 months after retiring, Harada's next challenge has finally become clear. The interview took the form of a joint media interview, but since we were able to interview Harada after he arrived in the new world, we spoke in detail about his feelings after retirement and the details of his new studio. In the interview, Yonemori and SNK producer Mr. Yasuyuki Oda is also present. So, we got the photos right there. So, SNK Studio is not a wholly owned subsidiary of SNK, but an independent studio, like as I said before, and as I said in the last video. But we're gonna get down to the nitty gritty, and we're gonna go into depth of what has been said here. So here we go. Thank you for your support today. First, could you give us an overview of the new studio? And Harada stated, the official name is VS Studio SNK. The committee recommends that the state party takes the necessary measures to ensure that all children are provided with inadequate housing and adequate health. I don't know why they said that twice. The freaking translator be wrong sometimes. But yeah, I'm gonna skip through that. He was talking about, the VS on it. They think that, he was, like he was saying in this video, they think it's versus. No, it's VS. He was talking about what it means, such as Vanguard spirit, the spirit of the pioneers, and the fact you can read it as an individual studio, which is familiar to those involved. Will be a separate company rather than team within SNK. It's when people, and Harada says, when the people say it's a SNK department, it's not fully independent studio. It is. I'll be represented. It is not a wholly owned subsidiary, but it is under the umbrella SNK while maintaining its independence. You mean part of. However, VS Studio is located in the same building as SNK, although they are independent. They are in cooperative relationship. A new studio doesn't have zero development environment, for example, which can lend you the basis of the development environment. And since we have separate knowledge from SNK, we believe that you can go to the older staff and provide knowledge to each other and have that kind of interaction. We don't add everything up in the development environment sense. We talk about what we can synergize with each other. As an extension of that, there are some famous IP addresses that SNK has, and some I personally like, so there's a lot of possibilities. You heard that? Hey, existing IPs games that are being run, you know, it can get upgraded. It can get upgraded to a better game, a better product. And then we got new IPs that probably going to be working on. So, yeah, this is good news. But anyway, however, and I quote, as he's saying this, when I say this, SNK also, aren't we going to be used in a good way? Some people might not think so, he laughs, but that's not the case. And I think we could do something more interesting by sharing our thoughts and ways of doing things. Okay, we got the EGDC, which is meaning Electronic Gaming Developing Company, an investment company under the MIST Foundation, founded by the Saudi Arabian Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman, SNK's parent company. Yeah. How did you decide to become the representative of the new studio under SNK, and what was the trigger? Well, I quit my job and asked, what should I do? Harada says, just when I thought it was, I received an offer for someone in the SNK group. Thankfully, there were offers from many other places. However, when SNK suggested that we can do it together, along with the story we have just told, I replied, I like to think about it in a positive way. In fact, he has been friends. Well, they translate this wrong. He has been friends with Oda for quite some time, and they have a relationship and they work with almost a generation together. Oda said that's right. Now, Harada's saying we've been talking about this before, but not this time, and it'll be interesting. We can do something together in the future. There is such a connection, and when someone who is an investor, SNK, told me something like a vision, I said, it matches the vision that I have. I thought I could make this work all at once. Then I received an offer saying I love to do it. And the interview asks, what is your original impression of SNK? Before entering the gaming industry, SNK has released when I was a university student. I've been a fan of SNK's IP address and title ever since. My impressions of the Neo Geo remain strong even if I enter the industry, and I collaborate with SNK when I was in my previous job, and I always liked them. I had the same feeling as fans who like the Neo Geo and SNK's IP. How long you have been friends with Oda? Over 10 years ago. And Oda says, first thing I spoke to was at Evo. It's supposed to say, you know, the first thing I spoke to him, it was at Evo, or it was at the venue of the Tokyo Game Show. We often meet at gaming event venues, so we gradually became friends. When I met you in San Diego, I was in the movies Top Gun. We went to see the Tomcat with Maverick, the main character of the show. Evo Evolution Championship Series, a large-scale esports tournament, mainly uses fighting games. In 1995, it was first held in California, a gaming tournament called Battle Up by the Bay. Wow. Since then, the number of events have increased. The venue has changed to Las Vegas, and in 2003, the name Evo was adopted. So Oda is really big on this Evo thing. Alright, all you fighting game, you FGC guys out there, you know, Oda, he's down with that. You know what I'm saying? He's down with the esports competition. Then Harada said, that's right, we went to go see an aircraft carrier and a fighter in San Diego. Oda said, so awesome. Okay. I'm going to get to the important stuff, because there's something I want to highlight. Okay, well, Oda was saying, since both of our main jobs were fighting games, it's easy to be aware of these things within the fighting game developer community. I think fighting games are a genre where collaboration is highly effective and easy to collaborate with. And I was thinking, I wonder what it'll be like to work together. That's also true for other companies. The interview said, I would like to ask Harada again, what do you think about the time you have left as a developer after retiring from your previous job? And also, how do you set out your end goal as a creator? Even I don't know the end goal yet. I think there are many things that can only be done in a stack. When you add up the position, responsibilities, and demands of your career, you will end up in a single structure. If you are over 50 and you don't do that at once and say, I want to do this, I want to start, that's not going to work. So in the sense of resetting once rather than sitting back and thinking about my current achievements, I realized that if I put my past achievements aside and work backwards to calculate the remaining time that I could still do mentally and physically, I will find I have surprisingly little time left. So I don't know if it's 1, 2, or 3 at the end. That's all I wanted to do. I want to make it happen. I thought again about how I can make that feeling come true, and that's how I ended up. He said the average life expectancy for a Japanese man is around 81 years. If you think about it like that, at this stage, you're already past the halfway point of your life. You may not be able to live more than the hours you've been living as you are. If you move your hands and head firmly, it will be shorter. That's how I thought about what I wanted to do from now on, and the result is now the choice. I also wanted to provide a work environment that will allow people to follow me to develop the games for longer than they can now. You say life and time left, and they mentioned Tobunobu Itagaki was the result of his passing. Now, Harada saying it wasn't the last push, but definitely had an impact. So, we all know that when Itagaki passed, that's a sensei, you know what I'm saying? It did have an effect on him. And yeah, sure, it had an effect on us too, you know what I'm saying? For the fighting game fans out there, for the Ninja Gaiden fans, for the Dead or Alive fans, and it's very unfortunate, man, that he is gone and he will forever be missed, man. But anyway, I want to get back to this. So Harada said it wasn't the last push, but it definitely had an impact. In the end, he was influenced by many different people. It's not really a deciding factor, though. For an example, Mr. Ken Kugaragi, I've always been friends with him, and we have been influenced by him because we be able to talk at various times. Kutaragi-san, you talk about a future that doesn't take your age in consideration in a good way, you're gone then. He said that the future is a rival. That mindset influenced you to think, I want to be like this too. Although I met Itagaki once every 2 years, we were one of his strongest rivals in some ways. Itagaki's son always said he would beat me. Apparently outside they were saying we beat Harada. He keep telling me to beat him. When you say something like that, it's proof that you're still fighting. However, Itagaki-san suddenly passed away, so I was a little worried that this was just the right time. That's a lot to unpack here, guys. And Harada's keep going at this. He's gonna keep going at this, Say what you want to say about Harada. In the past, I did myself had some criticisms of what he was doing. When he was working at Bandai Namco doing tekken. I admit to that. I mean, it's recorded. That you can look this up. I'm not gonna sit here and say that. Oh yeah, I never had no doubts. For him. Yes, I did. I had doubts for Harada. You know what I'm saying? Because the way how he was moving with Tekken, it wasn't like the same, like business-wise, especially with Tekken 8. But I feel like he had little to no control as time went on and finding out news about what he was doing. And like I said in my video that I did yesterday, Harada left Bandai Namco on bad terms. Okay? But then the interviewer saying, we're back to this. The interview saying, after you left your previous job, you never thought about stop making games. To be honest, that wasn't the case. But there was a time when I thought, if I keep going like this, I won't be able to make games, or I might lose the motivation to make them. There were a lot of things that happen when you are working. There was only one time in that time when I thought, if I keep going like this, I might not be able to make games myself. Yonimori also joined when the new studio was established. That's right, Harada asked me to do it. Let's do it together, Yonimori said. And the interview said, from the perspective of Tekken fans at the time, the pairing of the two of them were a very exciting combination. But there was a plan to lead the direction to Mr. Yonimori. Harada said, thankfully, there were quite a few candidates for director, including Yonimori. I received calls from seniors and juniors, both inside and outside of the school, asking, would you like to do it together? Or if you're going to do something like that, please do it. I'm really grateful. It's more like, let's all do it together rather than someone being the director. Since 2 shots of Harada and Yonimori will be published in this art, I think there will be more voices from various places. Harada says Yonimori is originally the type of person who was very well liked by his juniors, even who will have by chance dispersed to the industry and gone outside the industry to say, if Yonemori is here, then me too. There's definitely someone like that. After all, I had already heard those voices. I wanted to gather more of them, so I asked Yonemori to be with me on this interview. Oda-san was also present because VS Studio is not just an independent studio. I have a partner called SNK who I can do it with because I wanted to tell you something. We also want to contribute to SNK and we want to create synergy in a good way. We wanted to make that relationship clear. The interview said, I see, by the way, after you left your previous shot, did you talk to Yonemori about how you wanted to make a game like this? Harada said that's not the case at all. He laughed. Yonemori was working on a different company and was focused on his work there, so he didn't call out to him at that time. I called out quite recently. He's supposed to say I didn't call out. Translators be wrong, y'all. I called out quite recently. I've been away from Yonemori for a few years, so I was kind of a bit of a loser, and I pretty much knew I was thinking of what I was pursuing. It's a different way of making things that we did in the 90s or early 21st century, and the times have changed and the needs have changed. However, I told Yonemori something like, if you can create the way it was made, it's fun, it's passion, not just for today, but in a way that suits the present. It will definitely be fun. Shortly after, I got a response from Yonemori saying, let's do it together. That's what I'm talking about. We got to make video games fun, man. You know what I'm saying? They got to be some passion behind it, you know, creativity. Like, we can see that within these games. Not just make games just to make games because it will sell. I mean, that's important too, but make games to be fun. Make games to have more real playability. And you know, all that will fall into play in terms of sales. Anyway, back to the interview. Interview said, I think it was a brave decision for Yonemori too. Yonemori, he said, that looks like a lot of fun. There's no base, it's all clean, so it's not like you can't do anything. There aren't many opportunities to take on such a challenge, in addition to the fact that I think I could do that this time. I also had the impression that I could make something interesting while laughing with friends, and I know that I would love to try this, I thought. Now, Harada says, in my opinion, what Yonemori does together is a touchstone in many ways. 40 or if you over 50 and have a family, most people will go out their way to protect their lives, of course. I think that's important too. So hey, I can't change that in it or anything. But if people of this age group actually move when you communicate this excitement, it'll be a pretty big swell, I think. It was a big deal to me when Yonemori said, it looks interesting, so I'm willing to change the current situation at once. Suddenly it became a successful experience, or yay. And you know, even after this age, I realized if you have curiosity and passion, you can move. Right on. And Avery said, as I listened to the stories of the two of them, I felt like they were inheriting the Namco spin role, or rather, the Namco genes. Yikes. Harada said that may be. Only those who are neither physically or strong nor intelligent can adapt to change, can survive. Knowing, liking, and having fun, etc. Masaya Nakamura, I think the teachings of are engraved. Can you tell us as much as you can about the structure and environment of the new studio? Yeah. Now we getting somewhere here. Y'all. Harada says the new studio itself is located on one floor of this building, Moguru offices. Of course, contracts and such have already been signed, and the actual development environment is still to be created. I can't yet give a sense of scale of specifics, but it will be on the scale that I can achieve where I want to achieve. From now on, my involvement will be in the form of president and representative director, but I also like to return to being as a creative and working together as I did when I was in my 20s and 30s. Compared to me over the last 10 years or so, it was a return to creativity and development, or rather, a return to basics. I think so. The interview said VS Studio is an independent company, but did the discussions bring down to its current form? Harada said, we didn't discuss it when it became a concrete form. Before it took its current form, there was a story that Yota fantasized about, and it feels close to that. So on the other hand, we're surprised. So your delusion is becoming a reality in the first place. Harada wasn't offered the opportunity to become off as a representative to build a new studio, was he? Harada said it's not like that at all. I don't know if it is the department, a team, or just one title, but I just know the old 90s, that exactly the age we're talking about things like it would definitely be great if we could do it like this and the lineup like this. That's one of the things that we're talking about, and although it's a little different in shape, we're surprised because we never thought it actually happened. And the interview said that's the studio represented Harada also has personnel rights. So there we go. Harada said, of course that is. Thankfully, SNK hasn't told me to do it this way, so I think I'll be free to do what I want to some extent. Ugh. But as a representative, you also have a look at management. And if you accepted that being a two-legged straw man of creativity and management is a challenge, the interview said. Now, Harada said, I would like to make this very clear here, or rather, I do not want to be president and be independent. That's right. Please tell more about that story, the interview said. And, okay, we almost done here, y'all. He said, Harada said, I'm not denying my current position, but my goal wasn't to become independent or become president. My goal in life is not to become president. This is something I've been saying for a long time. I've always said I don't want a title, so I want to do something like this. But when you belong to an organization, your position inevitably becomes more and more important. That's why we structure it this way this time. Since the floors are independent, the company is not wholly owned subsidiary, as I said, it also maintains its independence. That's why we can do it as a group within SNK. For an example, in the back office, I'm not a professional when it comes to management, so SNK can provide backup for those parts. There's no need to worry about I have to find a source of investment, I have to do something to maintain studios, or what I have to do as a founder will fill the next 1 or 2 years. It's true that I'm busy right now, but as long as you can get rid of the pain of creation, you'll soon have a period where you can focus on creativity. That's why. Even though he's the president, there's a sense that he's giving me a lot of discretion and freedom in the way. So the interview said, I feel very relieved. My question to Oda-san is it possible that similar investments will be made in the future? Also, in that case, will that be a scale and criteria for judgment? Oda-san says, when it comes to investment, it's a bill of a large scale, but the scale varies from case to case. This time, SNK provided exceptional cooperation in Harada Studio Lunch, so I don't think that's the case. There are currently many projects underway within SNK alone, and we're collaborating with quite a few studios on each project. And that way, we can continue to promoting the project in the future. Alright, that's it. Yeah, and I think this interview right here has the same questions. Yeah, that's the same questions. Yeah, I see it has the same questions here. So, yeah, so this is important, y'all. Now, I said it in the video yesterday about Saudi Arabia Prince getting involved, you know, with their projects they might be working on for the next 7 to 10 years. Like, I'm going to tell you right now, we're not seeing those projects until like the second year and a half of the PlayStation 6. You know what I'm saying? We're not seeing no games of what they're making on the PS5, Xbox Series X, on Steam or whatever, or Nintendo Switch 2. We're going to see that on the next generation of console. So don't even, just get it out of your head right now if you're trying to like look for a game that they're creating right now that's going to be available on PS5. I'm telling you, it's not. But yeah, but that was some very, very important information in that interview that Harada is saying, ladies and gentlemen. I know that Harada is gonna free Oda-san up, because Oda, he don't have any confidence. He don't have any confidence. But Harada being around him, he's gonna find out within himself that he can do that he didn't know he can. He wasn't sure that he can do. Sometimes you need people to push you into better heights. You know what I mean? Sometimes it takes another person to make you better, or, you know, get you back on your feet, or finding something new within yourself and enjoy it, you know, whatever it is. So this Versus Studio, I know some people are probably skeptical of this, because we have seen, you know, guys that came from different major gaming companies and they go on their own as independent, and it doesn't work out. You know, for an example, Nagoshi. Okay, this guy Nagoshi, who worked for Sega for many years, he did Daytona USA, he did the Virtua Fighter, he did the Yakuza series. No, didn't well. Before the Yakuza series, he did Super Monkey Ball, the Yakuza series, and now he will go on his own, has his own studio to do, you know, Gangs of Dragons. But NetEase pretty much canned it. The Chinese pretty much canned this project. You know. But I don't think that's going to be the case for Harada and Oda-san with this VS Studio. I think they got some concrete foundation, as they stated. And they're going to do something right. And I think Harada, he probably is going to be the guy that's going to push for SNK to sell 1 million copies for their games. I'm going to tell you something right now. SNK never sold 1 million copies in any game they make on the console side of things. Not one time. Not one time. Now in the arcades, SNK was a juggernaut. They did very well. But console games, no. It was a rare. They never really bounced the ball and shot their shot and it with a buzzer. I mean, it be times they be hitting bricks. They don't win the game when it really matters. But I feel like with this VS Studio, they're going to win the game when it really matters. You know? It's going to be one of those days where they can look at their fruits of labor and be like, yes, we finally did it. We finally got a hit. It sold 1 million copies, shoot, 2 million copies. I wonder what that fighting game is going to be. Or it don't have to be a fighting game. It can be a new IP, a new genre, you know, a different genre. It could be a new Metal Slug. It could be a sports game, whatever they make at this point. Let's get SNK the respect, you know, they deserve. You know, if they do right. They have to respect themselves first. Because I didn't like the fact how they rolled out Fatal Fury City of the Wolves. I don't like the fact that visually, graphically, it's terrible when it comes down in the background stages. Like, look at Wolfgang Krauser's stage. I could have made a better stage than that in Mugen. I'm thinking that the stage of Wolfgang Krauser, the people are sitting watching him fight, you know, two characters fight. After the match is done, somebody get KO, they'll jump up and applause, clap, you know, all that. No, they just sitting like this. Whole time. They just sitting in their chairs like this. It's not interactive. Some of the stages look horrible background wise, but the characters designs, the graphics of the characters look great though. But it's a conflict. between the foreground and the background. And that's what SNK need to work on. Like, it don't make no sense that Fatal Fury City of the Wolves is like when they try to go forward, they go backwards more. You know, because Kings of Fighters 15 background stages, you know, for their stages look better than City of the Wolves. There should be no excuse for that. None. But the game that really looks really good when it comes down to graphics, how it looks visually and background stages, is KOF 13. And they almost went broke making that game. You know what I'm saying? So it is crazy in the hood. Coming down to characters, animations, and whatnot. But yeah, Harada being with SNK, joining them, that is a big move. And, you know, there's some people that in the fighting game, you know, community thought that Harada was going to join Sega. I'm glad he's not. I'm glad he's not joining Sega. Nope. I am glad he's not joining Sega. Okay. This is the right move here. You know, like my friend said, Antonio, shout outs to you. This is like LeBron going to South Beach for the first time. Okay. This is the plan. This can be up, you know, but I wish Harada and everybody else in the best, because SNK need it. They need it bad. They need to, because they innovated a lot of mechanics in fighting games that I don't think most people don't even know. You know, the parry system, SNK did that first. Supers, SNK did that first. You know, running, the characters doing the running, SNK, you know, did that first. Sidestep, SNK. A lot of things SNK done first. But, you know, Capcom, they take the credit, you know, of being innovative and in some of those mechanics, but SNK did it first. It's time to, like, get SNK up there. Get people to talk about SNK games in the same wavelength they talk about Namco Bandai games or Capcom games or even Square Enix games. You know, SNK just seems like it's always been in the back burner for the past 30 years, for real. They never really got that notoriety. You know? It's always, okay, it's cool, but, you know, because a lot of people like Street Fighter more than Fatal Fury. That's just facts. Especially in America. But SNK need to get to, you know, hey, we're making games really good, man. With the replayability, the replay value, the presentation, how the game is, how intricate it is, visually also is great. You know, hopefully Harada gives Oda that push to do better, because this guy doesn't have any confidence. And I don't understand why he scrapped all those black characters from Garo 2 and then put them in the City of the Wolves. You know, no black people, you know what I'm saying, in Fatal Fury City of the Wolves. Especially the new characters that's supposed to be in Mark of the Wolves 2. It's not even on there. The only character that was from Garo 2, you know, the council one, and it also got redesigned, is Prisha. Prisha originally was not supposed to look like that. But they had to redesign her as a scientist streamer. And then, you know, they didn't put Duck King in the game. That's a big mistake. You know what I'm saying? If they put Duck King in the game instead of that DJ, I think more people will probably be talking about City of the Wolves right now. You know what I'm saying? Because it was like a slap in the face. Me personally. You know what I'm saying? I can't speak for everybody, but me personally, it was a slap in the face. Like, you had Duck King promote this guy in a freaking, you know, panel. Ronaldo, I don't care. It's whatever. But the DJ? and you left Duck King out. Like I believe he was ready. He's developed. He might be in the next season of DLC characters in Fatal Fury City of the Wolves. But I believe he was ready. That was last minute, putting Ganache and Ronaldo. Like I said, they're not even in the front cover of the game. Like, look, hold on. I know I'm ranting right now, but this got to be said. Look, do you see them in anywhere in the cover, back cover? Do you see them? Do you see Ronaldo and the DJ in the front cover or back cover? No, you don't. And they left Marco Rodriguez, because people say, yeah, Marco Rodriguez is black. Well, Marco Rodriguez is already established. He's a Kyokujin, a practitioner that was already in the previous game, so they had to put Marco Rodriguez in there. But yeah, and I also want to talk about this too. Robert as Mr. Karate. Y'all know I like Robert Garcia. For the people that know me, y'all know Robert Garcia is one of my favorite fighting game characters. Maybe top 10 fighting game characters of all time. But him as Mr. Karate, that don't even make sense. How's he Mr. Karate? Look, you already had the blueprint of Rio and Robert in Neo Geo Battle Coliseum, but you give Robert a new design and him as being Mr. Karate. Ryo Sakazaki was Mr. Karate in Neo Geo Battle Coliseum. Why are you putting him as Mr. Karate? They already showed y'all how they would look in Garo Market of Wolves. The Fatal Fury, Art of Fighting timeline, it has a different continuity compared to KOF. The Art of Fighting characters are much older than the Fatal Fury characters. But in KOF continuity, they're the same age. I don't know why you gave Robert a new design. That was just... No. Why he Mr. Karate number 3? And Rio's supposed to be the true successor of the Mr. Karate. You know what I'm saying? They're older now. They mastered their skill set in Kyokujin martial arts. Like, why would you give him a trench coat and a Tengu mask? You know what I'm saying? Like... It don't even make sense. I'm really waiting on when he drops this month to read his lore and his interactions with other characters. I'm waiting. You know what I'm saying? Especially Mr. Big, who's also an Art of Fighting character. Which that was a surprise to me when they put Mr. Big in the game. That was a wild card right there. So SNK is taking a little risk, but you know what I'm saying. But putting Mr. Karate, Robert as Mr. Karate, man, that don't make any sense. We all know Ryo Sakazaki is the true successor of Mr. Karate. I mean, he was Mr. Karate in Buruki 1. I don't know if y'all remember that game. But yeah, he was Mr. Karate in that game. He was Mr. Karate in Fatal Fury Wild Ambition. Even though that's a spinoff. But I don't like. They gotta fix that. Harada gotta help SNK. They need it. They need a push. Oda need to gain some confidence. He needs to up his self-esteem, because how he's making this Fatal Fury City to Wolves is very telling. Is very telling. You don't have no heart, and you can just make characters out of the whim because you're using Unreal Engine 4. I got to make a video about that, about Unreal Engine, period, because, I really think it's overrated. I really think Unreal Engine is overrated as a graphics engine. And I'm going to explain that in another video. Yeah, they can do what they want, pop out characters like it's Mugen because they use Unreal Engine 4. They're underutilizing it. They're not even using Unreal Engine 5. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, they go backwards more than forward. hopefully Harada, since he joined them, they will have SNK going more forward than backwards. This is why I read all that stuff and what they're saying in the interview. Because Harada, he's going to shape them up. He's going to put Oda to shape. You know, he's going to show him, hey, this is how you do this. This is how you develop this. You know, even though Oda has done this and been with SNK for a long time, you know, he learns from other people, his big homies, who's no longer in SNK, especially the founder of SNK, which, I mean, this guy, I forgot his name. He created Heavy D. Heavy D. You know what I'm saying? Like, what? And you ain't embracing black people in your game, but look at Street Fighter 6. They're embracing black culture and hip hop and Street Fighter 6, and look, they winning. They're still winning. When you embrace black culture, you always win. Okay, and you give your respect, cause you know respect is due. You know what I'm saying? We put blood and sweat and tears to create something within our culture, you know? And look at Capcom. They sold 6-7 million copies of Street Fighter 6. And how much you sold, SNK, for Fatal Fury City of Wolves? Under 10,000. Saudi Arabian government put a lot of money into it. A lot of money into it. With the boxing matches, WrestleMania, Ronaldo, I Show Speed, KSI. You know, he probably played the game one time and never touched it again. Ronaldo probably never play the game. You didn't even get Ronaldo to be like, hey, I'm in this game, you know what I'm saying? At least the DJ put in the effort. Ganache, he did something while they was at Evo. You know? But the marketing and all the money that was put into it, they didn't get enough back. And we have to hold the Saudi Arabian government accountable too. You just throwing money in the air is not going to solve it. It's not going to make the game better just because you put more money up for promotion. You got to put money up for resources, the designs, the visuals, the presentation, the graphics, the gameplay. All that matters. And let them do what they do and have creative control. That's the main thing I'm worried about for this VS Studio is their creative control. Do they have the freedom to make something without Saudi Arabian government to interject and be like, yeah, I see y'all making a new 3D fighting game, right? Here they go giving SNK money. Put Floyd Mayweather in the game. Like, what? No, like, I really don't want them to use guest characters as a crutch to get more sales. There was a time where in fighting games, guest character was a rarity. It was rare. It was something special. You know, you wouldn't even think it would happen, but it did. Like Akuma on X-Men Children of Autumn. Or Sakura in rival schools. You know what I'm saying? Earthworm Jim and Clay Fighter. Yeah, like, come on, man. Like, we can't keep relying on guest characters. Stop putting goofy ass RPG characters in these fighting games. They don't fit. And I'm hearing that they gonna put Tifa in Street Fighter 6. Like, stop. Like, have a game. Like, I need a fighting game where they don't need the guest character gimmick to sell a lot of copies. That's what I want to see for here on out. Put in characters that are legacy or new characters. New that's created from scratch. You know? SNK got to step up, man. You got to step. You got the resources. You know, you're being owned by the Saudi Arabian government. Hopefully, y'all have more freedom and creative control to do what y'all do and do a great job of it. You know, so that's just my take on it. You know, again, hopefully Harada put a battery on Oda's back and push him into greater heights when it comes down to making these fighting games or any game, any genres of game for that matter. Excuse me, because the SNK is going out sad again because they've been having financial troubles like the past almost 3 decades, man. They haven't been really recovered. You know, because other companies are, you know, owning them, like Korea with Ilioff and China Chinese companies, and now Saudi Arabia. Like, SNK, man, do your due diligence and study and brainstorm and find out what's cool in the mix. Be an innovation once again. Set the standard. You know? Now, if they are making a 3D fighting game, rumor has it, they'd probably be the only company at its current making 2D and 3D fighting games. Because most of these gaming companies, they're doing 2D, 2.5D fighting games. You know, not fully 3D. You know, I mean, you can count, you know, but I'm saying a current fighting game that's being put out consistently. Like SNK will probably be the first to do that. Well, actually, they were at one point. So they're going to do it again because, you know, they did Maximum Impact and, you know, the KOF, you know, main lineup of KOF around the same time. So they did this before. Put out 3D fighting games and 2D fighting games at the same time. You know? So yeah. But as of current time, they're probably the only ones going to do it. If the rumor has it they're making a 3D fighting game. But yeah, man. This is much needed. Harada and SNK, I'm with it. It's up. Hopefully, we can only hope that they'll do good. No more mishaps. No things are getting canned. It's gonna be cool. You know, I know there's some people that are skeptical about it. They just like, you know, we've seen this dance already. It don't work out most of the time. But hopefully we could just wish for the best it does. But yeah, that's all, guys. That's all I wanted to talk to y'all about on this stream of this episode. MasterBoris is back. Thank y'all for tuning in. Like this video, subscribe if you're new. I do a variety of videos here. And I'll see y'all in the next one. Peace.